This is a crapshoot.
Hi, I'm Jess Cagle, and today we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite topic, celebrities. I am here with Vanessa DeLuca from Essence, Chad Millman from ESPN, and Janice Min, Hollywood reporter in the Billboard Group. Thank you for joining us. So it used to be that, well, number one, all of us do not consider ourselves magazine editors, or not just magazine editors. There are so many parts of our jobs now. And we used to cover celebrities really for one reason. We wanted to sell magazines on the newsstand. And now, because of the evolution of our business, celebrities are certainly used to sell, magazines on the newsstand. If you're the editor of People, as the editor of EW, whether or not they sell on the newsstand is of much less importance than the other things they do for us. Celebrities are part of an ecosystem where we're covering them and working with them in order to drive traffic and in order to enhance our video slate and our social footprint and probably increasingly in our native advertising plays. And so we're going to talk about the role of celebrities for all of our brands. And I'm going to start with a question about the cover. And Janice, is the cover, what role does the cover of the magazines play in your business, and how has that changed over the last few years?
For us at the Hollywood Reporter and Billboard, the cover is pretty much everything, and we're really small circulation titles. We barely even have a circulation department. We don't print very many print copies, so that makes the cover choice actually, almost it's easier and more important because I view the cover as for smaller brands like we have that are growing to be the ultimate branding for us. And I think of them as the equivalent of, a billboard on the West Side Highway or a billboard on Sunset Boulevard, that they say something not only about the person you chose, but that person reflects back on your brand, what you choose to say about yourself. And for us, for what we try to do with the Hollywood Reporter and Billboard, it is about being, we're sort of inside publications, trying to be first, cutting edge, trying to be insightful, and trying to pick stars that we feel deserve to be on our cover. And so a lot of thought process goes into it. And then, of course, everything else you said about the social media, the sharing of it. And, there are covers. I mean, Billboard, for example, prints, I think, it has a 17,000 circulation, which is minuscule. And we can have like a Justin Bieber cover, which we did a few months ago. And, Bieber on Billboard became the worldwide trending topic of the day. And I think it probably got, it's so many. He social media'd like 1,000 times during a day. I mean, that was a huge home run for us, and no one ever physically touched that magazine.
Right, I know. With Entertainment Weekly, I first looked to see, is it trending on Facebook? And that is so much more valuable than over-indexing 5 points on the newsstand. Chad, what does it do for you?
Well, at ESPN, it's an entirely different construct because newsstand has never been a huge part of our business. We've always been so focused on a subscriber model. And also because we're living within the ESPN ecosystem, part of our mandate is to put together the best possible magazine we can for our 2.1 million subscribers, and then create a magazine that breaks through the barrier of the conversation that is happening within the rest of the ESPN universe. And the cover itself ends up being the most tangible representation of ESPN in the hands of people who are interacting with the brand many, many hours during the week. And so for us, it's really about what can we say to fans that is most in the moment and generates the highest level of conversation, so we can then be as important as we can be to ESPN.
Vanessa?
No, I would say that definitely our covers are the conversation starters. We want it to be the number one trending thing on Instagram when we launch an issue. We think about how we're launching, not just how it looks on the newsstand, but we think about what's our social media presence going to be, like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and what hashtags we're trying to drive. How are we getting people excited about whatever this conversation is for that particular cover. We also use the cover as, quite honestly, leverage for many of our other events that we do throughout the year. We do many live events, Black Women in Music and Black Women in Hollywood, coming up this month, but also our Essence Festival, and there's it's a way of keeping that conversation going beyond just the cover that particular month. We can use it throughout the year.
And it's still, the cover is still incredibly important to Hollywood studios and networks and publicists and agents, and I'm sure sports agents are the same. Why do you think that piece of real estate is still so important to them, Vanessa?
I mean, I think that it's still rare, quite honestly, that you get it's 12 issues a year, right? So that's 12 opportunities that a celebrity has to be celebrated for whatever that project is. But let's be clear, there are millions of things that are out there. So to get the gem, the jewel, the crown jewel of the cover is still something that celebrities clamor for because they know it's not something that comes around every day.
It's also become much easier to use that cover as leverage to get them to do other things for you. If we're giving you the cover, yes, you can promote your whatever it is you're promoting, but we need you to also do this for us. Chad, what is...
Well, you know, no one has ever said to me, I'm dying to see my client at the top of the feed at ESPN.com. You know, they can't make posters out of that. They can't put that up on their wall. And for every athlete, and even non-athletes who we put on our cover, you know, last year we had J.J. Watt and Katy Perry on the cover of our music issue, right? And so there are two different factors there. One, there's sort of the factor for non-athletes to be able to cross over into a different market because we do so much pop culture. But there's also the factor of the athletes just saying, I'm on the cover of a huge, in size, magazine, and that is something that I can take to potential clients, I can take to potential sponsors, and it's something that they can put on their wall. And that's always sort of the biggest thing. That's what matters most to athletes is what can I show people that is big and fantastic and has emphasis.
Janice?
Yeah, I agree completely. You know, it was amazing to me last summer when I interviewed Donald Trump and I was in his office. His wall is covered with all his magazine covers, and this is someone who is
That is a shock.
It's shocking. And you know, this is a man who is basically a master of social media today, but you know, he loves being on the cover, and it was incredible. You sort of see the long tail of the influence of a cover. He was on the cover of the Hollywood Reporter, and then he's in a 60 Minutes piece. You know, several months later, he has all his covers lined up in piles from the current news cycle on his desk. And so, you know, that means more than him to anything. Of course, he wanted the 60 Minutes cameras to capture that. Like, see? Like, all these places validated my importance. And yes, I agree completely with what Chad said. Like, every time we have an ask of somebody that we want an interview with or for them to do something with us, it's the first question always is, will this also be in the magazine? And you know, nobody dreams of being on a website homepage as great as, you know, as much as we love our websites. Yeah, it's bragging rights, and it also means that, you know, anyone can publish their thoughts on Instagram or a social media platform, or they can blog, and that actually makes the commodity of print so much more valuable. Like you have, like, someone with what people would consider hopefully taste and decision-making abilities decided you were the most important person to give real estate to.
It does indicate a huge level of import and legitimacy, right? Because it takes time to shoot a cover, it takes money to shoot a cover. There are, as Janice pointed out, there are a lot of people making decisions about what is going to matter most and what we think as what we like to think of ourselves as tastemakers is going to matter most to the consumers that we're speaking to. So I think that's why people are always asking, am I going to be on the cover?
I mean, it's hugely influential. I'm thinking about last January, we had Keke Palmer on the cover.
Right.
And she didn't really have a project at the time, but she was in the middle of a lot of conversations. And so we put her on the cover in January, and then it seemed like things just started spiraling after that. She got Scream Queens, she just was on Grease Live. I mean, you know, it's a way for them to kind of say, I'm relevant, I'm of the moment, and you should be paying attention to me.
Have celebrities become more important to your business or less important to your business overall over the past few years, Janice?
Okay, I would say that the whole power structure of celebrities and the age of Pat Kingsley, that's died down. I feel like the benefit of the internet and social media is that there are so many stars, and in Hollywood in particular, Hollywood doesn't mint a lot of new stars anymore. Everyone's sort of on a constant sea level, and the people who are the biggest stars are the same stars who have been stars getting the $20 million paychecks for 20 years. So you have everybody's vying for attention. Paychecks have shrunk in Hollywood. There are fewer movies with the kinds of cast that can grow into a career being made. It's a lot of superhero movies, tentpoles as they're called, franchises. So everyone, you're just not going to get, it's my experience, you're not going to get those crazy demands anymore of people wanting or asking for things, and you just say no. The power of no is the most amazing thing you have as an editor. And I think the whole nature of the relationship with publicists is they will try to push you to the edge and get you to say something and try to terrorize you, and it's like next, like if you really have, as an editor, I think we have probably more leverage than ever right now in the universe as celebrities sort of, this is a bad way to characterize it, but as they get more needy.
Chad?
I wish I had Janice's courage, but no, I will say that it's interesting to deal with athlete celebrities now because they do have so many outlets, right? And it's not just social media, but there are many outlets popping up that are sort of co-opting the athlete voice. And what we are finding is that it's still important for us to get access and to spend time with athletes that we can translate in a way through our particular prism and not just through the athlete prism, so we can report around those people and get insight into what they are doing on a daily basis or why they matter in that particular moment. So from that perspective, I do think they're still incredibly important, but I also know that there have been times where we have written critical stories about athletes, and they have said, we are never talking to you again. And then we know from experience, in a year, they're going to be calling and saying, can we get on the cover of the magazine? Mm-hmm. And so in that respect, it feels sort of like empowering to be able to say, all right, we're cool, and we know you'll come back.
Vanessa?
No, I mean, I think our audience is kind of demanding that we don't, they're hip to the idea that, oh, so-and-so has a project coming out, so put them on the cover. That's not enough for them anymore. They really want an experience with a cover where they're learning something new, different, what this person stands for, what they believe in, what struggles they might be going through, what they're, what emotions they're bringing to the table with whatever issue they're going through. That's what's really driving. And when we come at it from that approach, then it's a lot easier to say, no, we're not just giving you a cover because, you have that new movie coming out. It has to be about something that the audience feels that they want to hear about and can connect to. And because it gives it more, it's more meaningful.
Yeah, Vanessa, I totally agree. I think there's been a big shift in, I think we went through probably 20 years of the acceptance by the public of really vanilla profiles. And, and that was sort of the agreement that everyone had, that you don't have, you're going to write these polite stories. And I think for celebrities, for people who are trying to get attention themselves after you publish, that they know they have to kind of bring it. Like you have to deliver something. If you don't make news, like, I don't need the 1,000th Sandra Bullock cover. Like you have, what's in there that is going to actually get some traction or make some news. So as much as they can announce news or something significant in on their Facebook page, it will not have the same heft as if they do it on the cover of People magazine. It has that sort of brand importance behind it, that what they're saying means something.
There's also, because of so many media options out there for the audience, and because of a big change in the audience, the public just does not worship celebrities anymore. I mean, nobody is galvanized around a celebrity the way the world was once galvanized around Julia Roberts and Jennifer Aniston. There was a time when if you wanted to move copies of People, you just put Jennifer Aniston on the cover, right? Now, the one thing that I've discovered works for People is you have to give people something that they cannot get for free on our own website, right? And that has really raised the bar. I know Janice and and maybe you guys too, have had celebrities write their own stories, which is actually really appealing. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not, but it's sometimes cutting out the middleman, giving them direct access, because the public, actually, our audience expects that from celebrities now. On the flip side, celebrities now control their own messaging. They have their own access to their audience through social media. So you could say that in some ways we need them more than they need us. But Vanessa, is that exactly true?
I don't know. I think that they still there's not one day that doesn't go by when I don't have someone asking for a cover. So clearly there's a reason that they want that to be associated with a brand that is trusted, with a voice that they know really resonates with a particular audience, is something that they can't build on their own. I mean, People's been around for a long time. Essence been around for 46 years. There is a relationship that the audience has to whoever is featured in it that can't be. They can't create that on their own. That's why they want that association.
Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Vanessa. It is a mutually beneficial partnership. And there are always going to be things that can be conveyed through a magazine story that you cannot convey on your Facebook page. And there are going to be ways to frame things in a magazine story, and there's going to be context in a magazine story, and all that becomes relevant to exposing who the celebrity is in ways that they would never do on their own unless they had the help of editors sort of pushing them along to try to frame what it is they're trying to say, versus if they're doing it on their own Facebook page.
Janice?
I think editors are needed to contextualize somebody. You can't say on your Facebook page, "I'm the biggest star in the world," unless you're, LeBron James. And
Kanye would say that.
Yes, Kanye would
Donald
say
Trump. There are a few.
There are a few, but most people would not do that. And so they like having an editor talk about their career, talk about why they're important, why they matter in the world, outside of those three names, there are very few people who would actually feel comfortable doing that, and it wouldn't have the credibility. It just sounds like you're, a fool, and editors are allowed to make that leap for you.
When a celebrity is available to us, it's generally when they're promoting something, and now when they're promoting something, they have so much to do. There are a lot of demands, and there are a lot of demands on them and on their time, in addition to, say, doing a magazine cover. Given that we often have less time with a cover subject or someone that we're building out a lot of content around, how has your approach to writing those stories and creating that content changed in the past couple of years?
We actually, we have this weird advantage at the Hollywood Reporter in particular, because we go straight to the community who votes on awards, and so we actually, it probably gives us an unprecedented access to people. Everybody wants to win an Oscar or an Emmy or an ASME. People love awards, and if you're a celebrity, I believe we're in this age right now where if you would like to win an award, you can't just be a famous person. You have to show you have depth, and you're complicated, and you're an interesting person, and acting is not because you want to be famous, it's because you think it's a craft. And so we are able to get a decent amount of time with people, and because of that. But sure, there are times when it's like, there's no negotiation for a cover that doesn't begin with, can we give you 20 minutes on the phone, right? And then
it always starts there.
Yes.
I know, and no photo shoot.
And no photo shoot.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, you have to beat that down, and then and then you eventually get what you want. And then sometimes people behave badly, and you kind of make the story around that, about how someone behaved at a photo shoot or how somebody behaved in an interview. I mean, that rarely happens, but that reveals something interesting about the subject as well.
Chad?
It's interesting because we've gotten to the point now where the cover is so important and it's such a precious commodity that if we don't think we're going to get time from an athlete, then we will figure out either we're going to move on, or we're going to do whatever story we want to do about you, and it may be on the cover, it may not be on the cover. And if it is on the cover and you're not going to give us time, there are 8,000 ways to put you on the cover in which you will have no control of how the image is going to look, because we are choosing from stock agencies and we are able to use illustrations around that. But it's always funny because athletes, our director of photography at the magazine now came from magazines where you would get a celebrity to sit for 2 hours because they were promoting a movie. And sometimes we will call teams and say, hey, we want to put so-and-so on the cover. And they'll be like, all right, well, he'll give you 10 minutes walking out of practice. And it used to be that was okay for us because we were desperate to sort of get that guy on the cover. And that sort of flipped. Now it's like, unless we can get something that is of such high quality and so dynamic and wonderful, then we're just walking away from that idea.
I think the power of saying no to publicists is incredibly, it's a very meaningful thing for a brand, because the thing that is very destructive about acquiescing to demands like that is that they all talk and they all work. There are very few agencies that control these people, and then it becomes like, oh, so and so, just push them back, push back.
They'll cave.
They'll cave. And like, if you say no, the power shifts so fast once you say no. If people actually want the cover, and there's some people who just don't really want it, and you have to talk them into it. But largely, this is, we're doling out very small amounts of something. Like, would you like to be part of it or not?
Right. I'd almost rather wait for another time when that person really is available to have them on the cover than to just have like some kind of cursory experience of 10 minutes that's really not going to do anything for the audience. And plus, the audience is really expecting to, like you said, Chad, be kind of totally absorbed and engaged in this story, and they want beautiful images, and they want the person to look aspirational, and you can't do that with a half an hour.
And just as a reader, when you pick up a cover that has promised some kind of great story and you read it and it's not good, it's incredibly disappointing. You think less of the brand, you think less of the place that is running it online, and so yeah, it's very hard. You definitely don't want to do that to yourself as an editor.
It's like when when we started talking about this, sort of the power of the cover from a celebrity perspective, but from a reader perspective also. It's the kind of thing you want to sit with. It's the kind of thing you want to sort of rediscover every single time you look at it in a different way, and you want it to sort of feel contemplative. Sometimes you want it to kick you in the stomach. Like, there's very visceral emotions you have when you're looking at a cover, and I don't think those are things that you can waste. And so that's why it's become so much more important.
The changes in the industry and changes in the audience have all made it much more liberating for us, because you can say no. I know with Entertainment Weekly, that audience wants a product cover, right? And so that's much easier to get access. They want a story about a product. A celebrity profile is just not really gonna work. With People, it's very easy to say, you know what, I can do a true crime cover and probably sell better than, just about any celebrity profile anyway. So there are just so many more options, and the fact that the audience really is going to respond to a great story, certainly in my case, gives me a lot of different options. How are you guys folding the new kind of celebrity into your ecosystem? And I'm talking about YouTubers and influencers. Are they treated like any other celebrity? Are you approaching them in a different way, Vanessa?
Well, our February cover featured a social activist for the very first time, an influencer in her own right, with tens of thousands of followers in her social media space. And at first I was a little nervous about that. We had 2 other celebrity covers as well, so it was a split cover. I was a little nervous about it because I didn't know how the audience was going to respond. But their idea of celebrity is different. Like you said, they're used to YouTubers, they're used to vloggers, they're used to this whole other layer of celebrity, and they're totally fine with it, totally comfortable with it. So if our audience is comfortable with it, why shouldn't we be?
Yeah, a celebrity is a celebrity is a celebrity. Chad?
So we did, last summer, we did an esports issue, looking at sort of this burgeoning industry and how massive it is. And one of the biggest names in esports is this guy named PewDiePie, who has, you can't even say it without laughing, right? And he has more YouTube subscribers than Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber and sort of the next 3 biggest pop culture celebrities combined. And PewDiePie did not want to sit for an interview. He did not want to sit for a cover. And so we sent a reporter to where he lives in Bristol, England. And he basically just went to every pub and said, "Do you know PewDiePie?" and started talking about PewDiePie. And eventually he found out where PewDiePie lived, and he found PewDiePie and went on a walk with PewDiePie and his dog and turned in this fantastic story, right? And like, PewDiePie is such a huge celebrity. I have 2 young sons. Neither of them care about sports. Everything I do is wasted on them. But when I told them we were doing this esports issue and that we were writing about PewDiePie, like, the next morning at 6 o'clock, my then 8-year-old was tapping me on the head, waking me up to show me like all the PewDiePie videos he watches. And so I would have loved to have put PewDiePie on the cover. I think it would have resonated in a magnificent way. But all we could get were like crappy screen grabs of PewDiePie from like his video games, and so we couldn't shoot him, which speaks to our earlier point. But I think they're as infinitely fascinating as anybody else that we're covering right now.
Janice?
I think let's see, at the Hollywood Reporter, I don't think we have yet to put a social media star, a sole social media star on the cover. We cover them. They're important to Hollywood. People watch them enormously there to see how they can basically make money off of them eventually, and you know, own part of what they do. In music, it definitely, there's this. You can have success, like, for example, there's a singer, Shawn Mendes, who probably a lot of your kids listen to, that has a song called Stitches, and he's the first Vine star, and this happened, you know, within a matter of weeks. He became like one of the biggest stars in America, and he's someone who we haven't put on a cover, but that's someone who could, you know, contend to be that. I mean, Justin Bieber is the most heightened example of this, as someone who was discovered on YouTube. But probably for our brands, I've had to think, you know, are any of these people right for what our brands are? And probably none of them yet, but I'm completely open to the idea if that happens. But yeah, PewDiePie, we talk about him a lot in the office.
Huge, PewDiePie.
PewDiePie.
He is. I actually went to there was a convention in Vegas or in LA last summer, and like, PewDiePie was surrounded by a bunch of people, and like, I had to sneak in real close just to get a picture of him that I could send to my kids, and they were flipping out.
Yeah, if you want to be terrified about the future, watch some PewDiePie videos and try to figure out what's going on. It's like,
And now he's got a book.
yes, it's a real generational difference that we have to be aware of.
All right. Well, listen, thank you all very much. As we leave, we're going to bring back Steve Lacy to say a few words. And thank you guys a lot.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Where are we going to go?
There's a lot more ahead today on the main stage, but now it's time to roll up our sleeves and move to the breakout sessions after about a 20-minute break. So grab a snack if you like, and please visit our sponsors in the lobby, including Amdocs, Catalyst, Kiwi, One Count, Port Hawkesbury Paper, R.R. Donnelley, Shop Advisor, Zinio Pro, Kantar Media, who's the data partner for PIB. The breakout sessions are on the slide right behind me, including the room locations. And again, there'll be more breakouts this afternoon, so you'll have the opportunity to participate in 2 of the sessions. We'll see everybody back here at noon sharp with Seth Meyers, and then, of course, enjoy having the First Lady with us this afternoon. So have a good break and breakout sessions, and we'll see you at lunchtime. Thank you.